Hey everyone, and welcome to week 3 of our Strong Marriage series. So, if you've been with me for these last couple of weeks, you know that I'm doing a 4-part series that leads up to a webinar I'm going to host for you. So that way we can learn what are the 3 mistakes that you're probably making that's holding you back or hindering you from having the strong marriage you desire. If you're just now tuning in, you're still right on time. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the audio version on podcast. I am going to be talking today about creating a vision, right? Because one of the things that I believe about having a strong marriage is it has to be intentional. Last week, I talked about how one of the characteristics of having a strong marriage is not it thriving on leftover attention. Okay. So, really speaking about intentionality in your marriage and really creating a vision. There is a verse in the word. I love pulling out the word as I have been creating this series for you and thinking about what a strong marriage looks like. And one of my favorite verses in Proverbs is where in Proverbs 29, it talks about that without a vision, the people will perish. And I feel the same applies to our marriages, right? If we don't have a vision or we're not intentional with a vision for where we want to go, what we want to keep, what we want to maybe edit out of our marriage, then it could perish, right? AKA end in separation or divorce. And look, we're all adults here. Sometimes that does happen, right? But if you are willing to be intentional and give it your all before getting to that place, you'll be surprised at what you can create. So stick with me here. So again, that verse in Proverbs tells us that without a vision, the people will perish. And it makes me think about, I did it again. Last week, I was going to bring on my vision board so that way you could see what mine looks like. And I forgot to do it again this week. So anyhow, I think about how we create vision boards, right? I like to call mine an action board. And we create these vision boards, whatever you want to call them, and we usually do it for business or our work, right? But what would that look like if we applied the same thing to our marriage? What is it that we want our marriage to intentionally look like in the different areas that we come together as a couple, right? The marriage itself, then maybe parenting, maybe how we show up in the community or with family members and friends, where we donate our time, our money, the church, whatever that may look like. But it's almost like creating a vision of how the two of you will work in the world and under your roof. And I think that that could be a really powerful exercise. So that's something that I'm actually going to have my husband and I create at the end of the year. Something that we like to do is write letters at the end of the year about what we want to see in the new year. And then at the end of that year, we read the prior year's letter. And so it's always a really powerful way to look at what has been created, what may have surprised us, and what maybe we still need to work on. And so I think we could take that a step further and even change that into something a little bit more visual, that we're not just tucking away for a year and only reading at year's end. So I really encourage you to do the same way that you create a vision for typically your work. I encourage you to do the same thing for your marriage. And especially if you're feeling some of the feelings that I know women may come to me feeling, which is hopeless, sometimes unconnected, resentful, frustrated, right? Whatever it is, it's important to get clear on why that's happening. And I always say, if you follow me for any amount of time, one thing that you have to do before creating your vision or creating a change in your relationship is you have to accept what you are working with, because it is then and only then that you can create what you want, right? Because if you're in delusion about the state of your marriage, you're not creating from a clean space. right? And remember, accepting what's going on doesn't mean that you like all aspects of it, but we have to get real and work with reality to create what it is that we want. So that's the first step, right? And interestingly enough, I was thinking about this as I was preparing our brief episode today. And sometimes the culprits of what's creating the resentment or the feeling disconnected or whatever it is can be kind of simple conversation starters. On the surface level, they look really simple, but the way that they're played out in your relationship can sometimes turn into a big thing. I'll give you an example. So, my husband and I have been having conversations about how we define the word team, right? And he definitely has a different definition of what team means to him than I do, right? And I want to encourage you that what if one of the culprits is that you and your partner have different definitions about what being partners mean, right? Or what sharing the household duties mean. Maybe it's you both agree that you should be doing that, but the way that it is delivered or engaged in or acted upon is not what you had in your head. So what if you just even started out by having that conversation around, what do you mean when you say we're partners in this, or we're going to share the duties in the household, or that we're a team? What does that mean to you? And I encourage you to have that conversation with compassion, curiosity, and even like a lightness, because it can actually be pretty comical about what may come out and the disparity between what the two of you may have been believing the definition of the same word is. So I really encourage you to do that, because one of the things that I know comes from having a strong marriage is that foundation can withstand many, many ups and downs in life, right? So imagine the foundation of a strong marriage is withstanding you having stresses at work or loss of work, parenting, caring for aging family members, things going on in the community, all types of, you know, troubles, struggles that we may encounter just in our daily living. And when you have a strong marriage, it can withstand the ebb and flow of those things and many times come out even stronger, because the two of you are being real with each other, you're communicating with each other, and it's an amazing thing, even when it feels uncomfortable, right? Because on the other side of that discomfort is growth. And so I want to encourage you today. What is the vision that you have for your marriage? And at the recording of this show, it's towards the end of 2022, when many of us are already thinking about how we want to show up in the new year, what we want to create, what we want to stop doing. And so I ask that you consider taking this on as something that you will do with your spouse. Create a vision for your marriage. All right. One last thing before we leave. I want to make sure that you continue doing this work. So each week, we basically add on to our knowledge as we're learning different ways of how we can create strong marriages. After you're done listening to today's show, make sure you jump over to my website, which is christalallen.com, where you can sign up for my free workshop at the end of this month, where we're going to be talking about the 3 mistakes that we typically make and what to do about it. I'm also going to be sharing at the end of that webinar an invitation to work with me before the year is out. This is the last launch of my private one-to-one coaching program, and it's a wonderful place to come learn more about what it is that you're maybe doing right now, what you can do to fix it. So you'll actually learn that on the call. It's not like I'll share that with you later. You'll learn it on the call. You'll be able to ask questions for me to answer, and then allow yourself to decide whether a strong marriage is something that you really want to create in the new year. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I invite you to go over to my website and register. All right, that's it for today, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Bye.